Hey, it's Luke with Auto Darts. Today I'm going to run you through my top 5 worst blaster grips ever made. Let's get going. I'm a little bit obsessed with ergonomics. I took one entry-level ergonomics class in school, and it really got me thinking about design and ergonomics in your life. Ergonomics, for those who didn't see it in the previous video, is the study of human interaction in design. It's everything from how a grip feels in your hand to the height of a table, the height and angle of your desk, the height of and placement of monitors, the spacing on your keyboard, and literally every single thing you've ever interacted with that's made by people has had ergonomic thought gone into it. Or perhaps in the case of these blasters, not enough. So at number 5 is the Hera. Now, I love this blaster, so don't get me wrong, and Zach made this blaster for me, this paint job, and it is just a beauty. So I love the blaster, do not get me wrong. It's also a great proton pack blaster. But what I found with this thing is that this grip for my large hands, which again, if you saw my previous video, my hands from palm to tip are about 7.5 inches, and my wingspan from pinky to thumb is about 9 inches. So you can kind of measure your own hand, and that'll give you a feel for my hand size versus yours. I'm in my mid-30s, and this is, my hands are sort of average. I wear large gloves, but not extra large. This just feels massive, and I always have a problem holding on to these for long periods of time during the day when you're sweaty. It requires more force than required because your hands are stretched out farther. There's an optimal spacing for your hands to have the most grip and purchase power without being strained. So say holding onto this large water bottle, which I love, a customer gave this to me, RL coatings, and this is hard to hold up here, while if I hold it down at the base, I've got a lot more control over it. So I find that grabbing this water bottle, for instance, is much easier at the base. The same goes with grips. If this grip was a little smaller, you'd be able to fit it in your hand better and have more power. Now, obviously some of you are saying, well, of course it's like that. It's got to have a magazine through it, which it does. That's part of the design, but ultimately that decision in design versus, say, putting the normal magazine up here like the rival Charger is what makes this grip uncomfortable. And I do feel the same way about many Talon grips as well, because they just get much larger. That said, it accomplishes a specific kind of loadout and a specific kind of blaster and a goal, so it has its purpose. The placement of the trigger and everything else is good. It's really the size here that bugs me. This is the Doomlands 2021 Desolator. Now this is a funky blaster, and I really do love the styling, but the grip is bad. It's got a number of problems. The first large issue is the actual grip shape and size. It feels a little small for my hands. The placement of this trigger is also very, very strange. To me, my finger wants to be up here pulling the trigger, not way back here where it ends up even with my middle finger knuckle. I end up pulling this trigger very awkwardly in the middle of my hand, or doing a very awkward trigger pull from the top with the point of my finger. It doesn't naturally, I feel like my hand should be back here further, and then my finger should naturally rest on the trigger. And because of that, this gets number 4. In addition to the actual ergonomic issues of the placement of the trigger, again, which I think should be further forward, you've got these ridges up here, and these ridges, despite this looking really cool, they grind in on my hands. And so I think if I ever used this blaster for a full day of play as a primary loadout, I would have to fill this and put something softer there, because it just grinds the back of my thumb, and that cannot do. So that comes in at number 4. Number 3, you knew these were coming, Elite 2.0. Now, we're going to look at the Phoenix here because it's one of the worst offenders, but they all are terrible. They're just bad. Now, again, my hands are large. This is not comfortable for my grip. It's not the worst grip in the world, but it's not the best. You've got multiple problems. The first being that the grip is too small. The second being that if you have adult hands, your pinky ends up on the tip here, which is really frustrating. I think I would hack that off if I actually cared to use this blaster long term. Next, you've got a very cramped finger well where the mag release is not only extremely hard to push, but it is always in the way of your finger, and I find it actually can wear on your finger and cut kind of give you little blisters on the back of your trigger finger, which is very, very frustrating. So overall, I think this is a real bad one. One thing to note here is that you can take this grip off, so this would actually be a prime candidate of a replacement grip, but I don't think I will bother considering the difficulty of modding this blaster. So that comes in at number 3. Number 2, you're probably expecting it. It's basically the entire Ultra line. I don't even know what Hasbro was doing here. The Ultra line features some of the worst ergonomics and least comfortable grips that exist. This isn't necessarily the worst one, the Ultra Amp, but it is a bad one. We have the same problem that we saw in Elite 2.0, which is where the fingers do not fit inside of here. So for adults, this is terrible. It just does not feel good. We also have a rev trigger that a full-size human finger cannot fit on here unless maybe you are 8 years old. So you end up getting stabbed by the middle of the rev trigger on your finger. I mean, you can just see there's just no way to look at this. Again, my pinky is resting on the tip of the grip. It just doesn't fit here. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, this is a toy. It's meant for an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. I would say that the target market is definitely around 10 to 12, but they are certainly used by both older and younger. So I could definitely see some improvement on this overall because it is bad in a lot of ways. This trigger is also not large enough to hold my full-size finger and just not a great blaster or grip. And this applies to the entire lineup of Ultra. That said, I do think the Ultra 2 is pretty cool. So, I mean, that's the one bright spot. You know, that's if you change it to short darts or full-length darts, of course. So that comes in at number 2. Number 1, can you guess it? Can you guess it? I wonder. It's the McCree. The Overwatch series is super cool, and I know that cosplayers love these blasters. Obviously, they are selling well. It's a great piece of IP that Hasbro has, and it's a cool, lifelike representation of the game. However, this is one of the least comfortable trigger wells and triggers you'll ever see. It's actually a little sharp, and it's not great. This curve just doesn't work. Now, it does get sort of a pass because of its purpose. It is a partial prop. This is not an effective blaster. It's really more about cosplayers and kind of reliving your gameplay moments. But for me, this is really, really rough. If I pull on here, this literally hurts my finger. It like pinches. I'm just gonna hold on here for a second and you can see what it does to my finger. I'll do that again. Just holding that where I would pull it, and it really pinches the finger in this small curve. There are limitations, of course, when you're making a blaster that is based on a video game. You've got to make it look like the game. And replicas from games are never going to feel as comfortable as something purpose designed to be a blaster from the start. And an honorable mention here, we've got a few other blasters that I thought I would cover while we were talking about bad grips. So first, we've got the the Jolt, the classic, most popular Nerf blaster probably of all time by sales volume. There's no way there's another version that hasn't sold more. For kids, this definitely feels better than it does for mine. Now my hands go like this. Obviously, this is a cheap little blaster. You can buy it in so many different versions, and it's still very cool. But of course, the grip is terrible. Now, this is one example where the grip is terrible because this is function over form. That is to say that this is the smallest blaster that exists, and it does that job well. It doesn't do much else well other than being a very small blaster, but it's got a pretty uncomfortable grip. Next up, we got this baby launcher. I got this from Michelle and Addie, my friends over at Foam Blast, and boy, is it a lot of fun to launch multiracial babies across the room. It's quite entertaining, but you know, I guess this was designed for babies because there's just no way to hold this. I can't do this with a straight face. Next, I thought I would talk about the Mark II. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this blaster. This is a phenomenal blaster. It is a powerhouse, but the grip itself, while the grip portion is fine, the tolerances and ergonomics of the top of the blaster sits too close to the grip. This whole grip needed to come down further and allow for more space between the curve and the base here, and it really bites in, especially with the heavier spring load. It bites in at the back here, and I end up with a pretty sore back of my hand. That said, this is a sidearm. You're not going to have to probably fire this hundreds of times per day, but it's something to note. It's not perfect, and this is yet another example of function over form. They wanted to keep this as small as possible. They needed to fit the magazine in the hand grip, so there's a certain size it had to be. However, I would have loved to have seen this rounded out, or maybe even just 5mm down grip to reduce the amount that rubs on that point. Lastly, this is an example of taste. When I was a kid, this was the most comfortable grip of any blaster I'd ever touched. And I think for your average 8-year-old, or maybe a little bit younger, that's probably still true. And this is a good reminder that like this whole video is my opinion for my hands and my preferences. But if I were to go back and try to use this now, I not only can't get my finger in here, but at least my pinky and maybe part of my ring finger actually come off the blaster. So while this is a prized possession of mine as far as the Nerf collection, it is really not an easy one to hold on to with my adult large hands. But again, it's still probably a great blaster for younger kids. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you've watched this long, thank you again. Do hit that like button. It helps us all out as YouTubers in this crazy, ever-changing algorithm. Until next time, I'm out of darts. Oh no, there go the babies.